Losing a pet is like losing a piece of your heart. If you're struggling with grief, you're not alone. At mydogdied.com, we understand the pain and are here to support you. Visit us today and find comfort, guidance, and a community that cares. We received a letter from someone who has lost their pet and have allowed us to share their story so that it will help other listeners deal with the loss of their pet. For Bill Morrison, a retired fire chief, Blaze wasn't just his dog. Blaze was, in Bill's own words, his little fire. A tiny, scrappy terrier mix that stood vigilant, ears perked, and always ready with a paw to nudge Bill's lap for attention, or perhaps more likely, for some treat he had his eye on. Blaze lit up every room and every firehouse he entered. And it's no exaggeration to say he wasn't just Bill's companion. He was family, as real and as vital as anyone Bill might have hugged on Christmas morning or gathered alongside during the toughest days of his career. When we talk about the grief that follows losing a pet, it's, I think, only recently that society has started to recognize just how profound it can be. Grief is grief, right? It doesn't come in neat categories. So when Blaze, after being Bill's other half for 14 years, reached the end of his journey, his absence seemed to ask even the toughest of fire chiefs to contend with a sorrow he hadn't quite prepared for. You see, the loss of a pet is, well, it's not just hypothetical or symbolic. It's tangible. It's empty food bowls, unwalked leashes, and the unmistakable, deafening quiet that settles into the tiniest corners of everyday life. Honestly, one of the most beautiful things we've seen lately is that this pain, this kind of loss, is being taken more seriously. Communities, both in person and online, are stepping up. They're not only saying, "We understand, but not so," but also, "You're not alone." It's, acknowledging that void left behind when a furry companion, one that brought unwavering joy, love, and honestly light, is no longer there. It matters. So when someone like Bill Morrison shares that grief, not just silently, but openly, it gives permission to others to say, yes, this is real. And it opens doors, doesn't it? Doors to healing and connection, and to memories that remind us our companions aren't truly gone. They're still here, still lighting up the spaces they've always touched. Blaze, though. Blaze was extraordinary. He wasn't just a dog. He had a way of lifting spirits, of stitching moments together. And well, I guess you could say he would have made even the toughest firefighter pause. Just for a moment to smile. Blaze wasn't just a dog you could forget. From the very start, he had that spark. Bill spotted him at a firehouse charity event all those years ago. Imagine this wiry little terrier mix, ears standing at full alert, sitting in a cage that couldn't quite hold his energy. He was scrappy and small, but his spirit was, as Bill told me, like 100 dogs and just 10 pounds of fur. It was that spirit, I think, that caught Bill's eye. That, and maybe the tail wagging like it had a motor attached. And here's the thing. Bill wasn't even looking for a dog. He wasn't. 30 years as a firefighter, juggling calls, emergencies. I mean, his hands were already full. But Blaze had other plans. There was this moment, and maybe we've all had a moment like this where you just know something's meant to be. Bill crouched down, their eyes met, and all it took was one look. Instead of Sparky, which was what they'd been calling him, Bill decided, right there, this dog was Blaze. And as he said, like a real fire, Blaze lit up the firehouse and his life. Blaze became a kind of unofficial mascot, lounging in the break room, hopping into the fire trucks when he was allowed. And I mean, come on, a dog with his own firefighter's jacket. It didn't fit quite right, but that's what made it perfect. Off-kilter and charming. That was Blaze in a nutshell. He brought levity to the weight of the job, you know? A wagging tail in the midst of chaos. But that connection only grew deeper after Bill retired. No more sirens, no more urgency. Just quiet walks along the cliffs at Crystal Cove and sunsets shared on the deck. Bill used to joke that Blaze was the only one who could stand to hear his retirement chatter. And, well, maybe there was some truth to that, but Blaze wasn't just tolerating those moments. He lived for them. He soaked them up like they were the whole purpose of his little life. Time, of course, doesn't let us hold on to those moments forever. By Blaze's 13th year, the signs were there. The once energetic zoomies became slower, his naps grew longer, and even his bark seemed softer. And, well, when the end came, Bill knew. He knew, but knowing it doesn't make it easier, does it? And in Blaze's final moments, resting his head against Bill's chest, just like he'd always done, well, it leaves a mark. A mark on your heart that feels impossible to erase. And then came the silence, the leash near the door, the empty bed in the corner. The quiet was almost unbearable. Bill tried to push through it, tried to convince himself he was fine. But grief doesn't just go away because we ask it to, does it? It finds you, like it found Bill. He'd wake up from a dream, one in particular, a vivid, heartbreaking dream, where Blaze came running back like the old days, only to find tears on his pillow. Those dreams, I think, were what finally nudged him to confront what he was really feeling. That's how he found mydogdied.com. It felt odd to him at first. No small irony in a retired fire chief. Someone so used to being the rock, turning to an online community. But something about it spoke to him. Even tough guys need to grieve, he read. And then he started reading the stories. Stories from other people, strong people, sharing those raw pieces of themselves that only loss could carve out. And you know, for the first time, Bill didn't feel so alone. Reaching out isn't easy, is it? I mean, for so many of us, grief feels like this isolating thing, like something we've got to handle on our own. But, you know, we don't. And that's what makes communities like mydogdied.com so important. It's a space where nobody diminishes the loss. Instead, it's a place of understanding, of sharing, and, in the end, of healing. When Bill stumbled onto mydogdied.com, he wasn't sure at first, right? A tough guy like him, looking for solace in stories and strangers. But that's the beauty of it. What he found was connection, a shared language of memories and loss. People who didn't just say, "I'm sorry for your loss," but understood it because they'd been there. They had walked that road too, to read those stories, to share his own. It became that first step towards something softer, something lighter. Over time, Bill became more than a participant. He became part of that healing fabric, joining others, responding to new members. And in doing so, I think, carrying Blaze's light forward. There's this comfort in knowing that our stories, even the painful ones, can help. That sharing doesn't just unburden us, but it gives someone else the strength, the courage to say, yes, I feel that too. And that's the heart of it, really. mydogdied.com isn't just a website or a resource. It's a gathering place, a place where people bring memories of four-legged companions who changed their lives. It's a forum where someone might write, "I'm struggling today," and receive a wave of kindness and understanding in response. It's a reminder in the moments that feel the darkest that none of us are truly alone in this. So if you're listening today and you've lost someone, a wagging tail or a purring friend, please remember there's a community waiting for you too. A community that understands the little rituals, the memories, the laughter, and the quiet aching in their absence. MyDogDied.com is there. And if you're ready, there's a whole world of support waiting, from heartfelt stories to kind-hearted connections. You might even find the strength to share your own story. And who knows, your words might just be the lifeline someone else is searching for. The choice to lean on others, to open up. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. And it's in our human connections that we heal. Perhaps, in some small way, it's an extension of the same loyalty and love our pets showed us every day they were with us. So let's honor them by allowing ourselves the same kindness. And on that note, to all of you listening, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this journey with us. And whether your pet was a blaze, a spark, or something entirely your own, know that their light lives on. Your love for your pet never fades, and neither should your support. If you're grieving, don't go through it alone. Visit mydogdied.com or call us at 855-925-2658 and connect with those who truly understand. Healing starts here,